the spark that replaces you. I really could do with some advice. One main issue for me is the fact my wife shows me absolutely no respect. I am a very hard-working man, and I always put her first. I constantly do nice romantic things for her and treat her with the respect I would any other person. With me, it's a completely different story. When she upsets me, she gets angry at the fact I am upset, and then comes the huge amount of rage, screaming, crying, shouting. Even after arguments that last for half an hour, she still refuses to apologize, and then finally when she does, she seems to think that's fine. The problem is for me, the apology doesn't mean anything because next week she will curse at me, scream, yell, and throw one of her temper tantrums yet again. I'm not really sure where to turn here. Unfortunately, over the last 3 years I have had a lot of health problems with depression and anxiety, which have been a strain. I feel as though because I have had health issues, she thinks I am weak and treats me that way. I wish I could feel fine all of the time, I really do, but anyone who has experienced these things will know how debilitating it is. I could go on and on about our relationships and other issues I have, however I think it's probably best I give you a typical scenario of what happened. This happened last night and has carried on through to today. Last night she commented on an old photo of me and basically put me down because she said I looked a lot older and had less hair. Now yes, this is true and I can accept that. But ladies, imagine me picking up the same photo and saying, "You've aged and you've put quite a lot of weight on, haven't you?" She can't seem to gauge why that upset me. So once this had happened, she got angry again because I was upset, and she refused to acknowledge the fact I was. She just got into a huge rage over everything. This morning she said sorry again, and then when she got to work, I basically told her we have to do something about this anger issue she has had as long as I can remember, and also the lack of respect. She also hardly ever comes on to me physically. We have a good physical life, but I always have to instigate or to basically moan about it for something to be done. She says she is just like that and doesn't think about being the first person to make the move, but I don't believe that. Is she not attracted to me? I know it's hard to tell given we are all different, but it shatters my confidence, and I think part of the reason I am a bit at rock bottom is because my own woman doesn't make me feel like I am wanted, respected, and attractive. Just to give you an idea of the kind of conversations we have, here are our messages from today. I am quite angry in places here, but it's just frustration. Please let me know what you think. Me, I think we need to go and get some professional help. I'm sorry, but I can't deal with the childish temper tantrums and the huge amount of anger anymore. They make me act in the same way back because I don't know what to do. I feel scared, and frustration sets in at the fact I can't get any of my points across. I'm not going to put up with being spoken to that way. It feels like a form of wanting power and control over me, and it leaves me feeling depressed, upset, and hugely disrespected. I am a man and I deserve to be treated like one, not shouted and screamed at like some kind of animal. When you fail to acknowledge the fact I am upset, it makes me feel as though I'm not cared about. I'm sure that kind of behavior may have worked when you were younger with your parents, but it's just not acceptable in a marriage. I appreciate you're sorry, but when this keeps on happening, and has for a very long time, something needs to be done about it. I can't live my life this way, it's making me ill. I know you get upset and I understand that, but it's the full-blown rage, failure to acknowledge any wrongdoing, the yelling at me, talking down to me, and the telling me to F off, which is just too much. I don't think you realize how bad it is. Can we do something about it together? It needs sorting out. Are you willing to go to Heather to talk about it? I need a happy, calm life. I can't live in fear of doing something wrong and be made to feel disrespected and tiny constantly because I'm not falling in line with expectation. It's making me sick. I'm sorry, don't know what else to say. Me, so, you expect me to respect you, but you won't respect me in return. It's no wonder you show no interest, to be honest. I'm too much of a soft touch and a walkover for you. I'm easy, right? And that's not attractive, is it? Sometimes I don't know who you think you are, to be honest. Put up with this crap for too long. Maybe you want out and are too chicken crap to say it, and that's why you couldn't care less about my feelings. You just decided I'm a bad person, so what's the point in me trying to convince you otherwise? I'm a control freak who enjoys upsetting you. Me, wow. See, you say it again. I don't care. What would you know? Upsetting me at work. Are you trying your hardest to break me into pieces? I'm fed up with having to reassure and justify myself all the time. I'm who I am, you are who you are. We know that after 10 years, why we have to keep going over and over. Yes, I'm sorry I upset you, but you chose to take what I was saying the wrong way too. Me, you don't respect me. It's not a simple "you've upset me." It's a complete lack of respect. I'll never be good enough for you. I'm no good for anyone. You just hate me like everyone else. Thanks for making me cry at work. Leave me alone. For my own sanity and health, I really have to do something about this now. I love this woman, don't get me wrong, but when she turns into this other person, it just makes me feel tiny, and it does affect me in a big way. We've both had our issues. However, as you will tell from above, I am willing to confront my demon and work on myself. I don't live in denial like she does and pretend it's all okay. It's obviously not okay, and I don't want to leave. I want to be happy, but I don't know what to do or how to act now. Can anyone give me any advice at all? I feel like everything has gone against me over the past few years, not in any kind of feel sorry for myself way, but just having to deal with everything. Could this relationship be making me sick without realizing it? I love this woman, but she makes me feel like a shadow of myself. I have asked her to tell me why, and have also asked her if she wants to talk about it so I can start to try and understand. Yes, I get the threatening for respect won't work, however on the flip side, it does leave me feeling like I deserve better. I know it takes two to tango, and there are always two sides to a story, so if she refuses to talk, what then? I put my foot down, whether that is right or wrong, and my wife has agreed to come to see a counselor to sort this out. We can't just ignore it, however, it manifests. It seems as though it might not be that simple now. After she agreed to see the counselor, I said, well, I think we can both agree that we're not communicating properly. I am making you feel victimized, and you're making me feel disrespected, so we need some help with it, right? And I just got this in reply. Yup, I'm the kind of person who likes to try and fix something, but I guess now all I can do is look to split up, lose half of everything I ever earned and have given up for this woman, and start a new life on my own. Completely confused with all of this stuff. I don't know what I stand for, to be honest. I've worked 30 years chasing a pipe dream. I've got to a point people try to get to throughout their entire life, success and money, and I finally woke up one day and realized it all means absolutely nothing. So, I'm pretty damn lost, to be honest. After being unavailable when I called at work yet again. Gets me worrying. Yes, I know it's a really bad thing on my behalf, but I mean, when we have issues like this, it's not unheard of thinking there could be someone else, right? Anyway, after 40 minutes waiting, she texted, just what I have said to you before. When you bring up money, it makes me feel inadequate. When you call me a control freak and say I like upsetting you and putting you down, and just when you don't believe what I say. I know we all need some reassurance from time to time, but I want you to believe in me and us, and sometimes you question the same things again and again. The problem is nothing seems to work. No one can actually give me an explanation for any kind of root cause other than some BS about chemical imbalance, which seemed to balance absolutely fine for the previous 10 years of my life. The whole give him a pill and he'll be fine route isn't something I believe in either, as in essence all these deadly pharmaceutical drugs do is A. Mess your brain up, and B. Block neural pathways from working, tricking the brain, and in essence not addressing or explaining the root cause. I've been there and done it all, I'm afraid, and nothing is working. I have had a counselor for the last 7 weeks. I have spoken to psychiatrists, who have given me more labels than a designer warehouse. I have tried diet and exercise. I have become more spiritual, meditated, turned to God, tried cognitive behavioral therapy, you name it, I've done it. Yes, maybe for a few weeks my subconscious actually tricks my conscious mind into thinking I'm cured, but then reality sets in, the anxiety floods back in, and so do all of the other negative tendencies with that. So lost is probably an understatement, and if there is a life after death, then maybe this is my punishment for some past life sin. Who knows? Pretty sick of it all though, to be honest, and given my family isn't really a family, I don't have anyone else apart from my wife, and as you can see, she bears the brunt of my sad existence. Do you know what the ironic thing is? I know more than most of the so-called experts do, and even that isn't enough. I'm 31, so I don't think it's a midlife crisis. I became hugely successful at 24, and around about 29-30, I finally started to realize what all this money and materialistic stuff stands for. Absolutely nothing. I'm not going to the gym, getting a spray tan, and driving around in a convertible. So trust me when I tell you it's not a midlife crisis, it's more of a spiritual awakening than anything. And even that side of things is enough to mess with your mind. Never mind the illusion television, culture, and our sorry state of society sells us on a daily basis. I had a week of the most severe depression you could imagine. Literally hours upon end staring into space in my room, and crying, and feeling torture and pain, and then I felt the most unexplainable feeling I ever have in my entire life, a complete connection to everything, a bliss. That horrific pain lifted as if it was a cloak around me being taken off. After that, some strange spiritual things started to happen in the house, and I started to realize that the way I was going in life was wrong. I was greedy, I cheated, lied, deceived, all for my own disgusting selfish gain. I lived for materialism. I used my success and wealth as a false stool for confidence. And then one day everything just clicked. I felt completely different, and I decided I needed to change my life somehow. I'm still at the how do I change my life point, but since then I've done good things, and I am trying to be the best person I can be and not get lost in the horrible path I was previously. That's how it all began. I've battled with anxiety now for a couple of years, and I battle with paranoia as well that my wife may be cheating. It could all be in my head, or my gut instinct could be right. It's got pretty ugly and bad, and I've been kept away from her work now for many years, having only met her colleagues she's worked with for 8 years once at my wedding. It's a taboo subject, and if I ask anything I get attacked because she thinks I am getting paranoid, which is fair enough. Not quite sure what to do, to be honest. Even the IC doesn't seem to work for me. I have suspected my wife of having an affair for years now, and it's all fueled by the fact I have not met anyone from her work in Sunderland, I live in Newcastle for 3 years. I am in an impossible situation as when I question her about things, which I have a lot, she gets angry, which is understandable if I am 100% paranoid. Problem is recently she has started telling everyone I am paranoid, and then they all lay into me. Strange this is, I've never been paranoid about anything else before, so why this? I feel like her work life is completely kept away from me and is hidden. What do you think? I have many suspicious things I can name over the years, but no concrete proof as of yet, and I guess the more I accuse or wonder, the tighter it would get if she was cheating. Another thing to note is when I actually accuse her, she never ever says I'm not cheating, she always says I'm not a bad person, which I find a bit odd. She also smirked once when I asked her outright about it, and we had a blazing row. Found that weird given we were screaming at each other and I was telling her I just knew. I'm currently seeing a counselor, but she refuses to on her own. She has huge anger issues and refuses to take any responsibility for them, whereas with me I hold my hands up. I know I have problems and I am trying to fix them. Unfortunately, when it comes to her anger, she just seems to think it's okay to forget about it. However, when it's at its worst, things go flying at the wall. She drives the car down the road in a complete rage, screaming like a maniac in front of her brother, and starts swearing at me when I won't do the gardening. It is getting better, but it's still there. The last 3 months we really made a huge effort. Things were going well, but then one day she just blew up over the fact I wouldn't do what she wanted in the garden. She started screaming at me, telling me to F off repeatedly, and that's one of the reasons I wrote a post about my wife disrespecting me. She can't move on with her life when I am paranoid. I get that. However, she doesn't understand I can't move on with mine when I see my wife becoming a person I really don't like. The real her is slowly fading away. She's an absolute angel underneath, but she's wrapped in this hard, stern exterior, constant defensive body language. She always crosses her arms and rarely smiles. She's very uninviting, which is what I told her was holding her back in life because she's almost unapproachable. She says she just crosses her arms and it's not an issue, but it is, trust me, when she does it in front of people constantly, they get the wrong idea. The rage is a huge issue for me, but she cannot accept it no matter what. She thinks the answer is for us to move to a new house and have kids, but it's not. I think she needs to speak to a counselor, but she refuses to alone. What can I do? I almost feel like she is unwilling to try because even though she has agreed to see a counselor with me, we haven't been yet. She still says things like, "What do you expect me to say that hasn't already been said?" And she makes out like she is doing it for me rather than facing the problems we have both as individuals and husband and wife. Spoke to her this afternoon because it's all been getting to me, and she basically made out the whole problem is my paranoia and nothing else. Confronted her on the whole anger issue, and instead of actually admitting to it and talking about any kind of way to get past this, she just said, "It's always the same thing, you're never happy." And then she brought my mother into it, saying, "We think this and we think that." Just think it's a load of BS, to be honest. I think I need to just start working on myself. But this whole house moves and first child thing on hold or delay it on purpose, and then whilst I am doing that try and remain calm, I find it impossible, whilst keeping my eyes open and my mouth shut. Problem is she always knows when something is up with me. She's got it down to a fine tea and she will not stop bugging me until I give. So how do I put on this act when I may be raging inside from finding something and having to pretend and act this way each day? Her phone went off late last night after 11 when we were both in bed. I could tell because it lit up, and then she kept tossing and turning and couldn't get to sleep. This morning she was really off. Her body language was crossed arms in the house with a cold, harsh look on her face. I could tell something was wrong. I asked her what was wrong and she said nothing. I took her to the station to get the train for her business trip, and all of the way there she was completely silent. Usually I would kickstart conversation, but this time I decided not to. I didn't feel the need to do this given she was the one who had a serious problem with something. I feel a lot better now because I am starting to notice the signals, and I am following the mouth shut, eyes open advice. I am also getting a grip of myself physically and mentally. This has tortured me for 3 years, and now it's about time I did something about it other than to realize why I feel all of these huge mixed emotions. To me it's clear it's because of this. It's intuition, it's subconscious tells, and it's my gut screaming at me. If I am wrong, then in the end I will hold my hands up and get professional help. In the meantime, I am adopting the Sherlock approach and going to the gym to release these pent-up emotions I have to experience living like this. It's clear something is definitely not right below the surface, and this playing on my paranoia is just a cover-up. I am going to start all of the things you have said, and I am also keeping a daily journal as well. I am trying to be unbiased, so if I have a suspicion, it's simply that and not a cold hard fact. The very hardest part in all of this is keeping your cool and keeping your emotions intact. But if I slip up and give the game away, or I crumble, then I know I will never find out the truth. Either way, whether I need medical help or whether she is cheating, I need to know. And unfortunately, even of complete sound mind, I unfortunately think it's the latter. I am sure I am not insane now after all, thank God. It's so relieving to hear from others. I am going to out this evil cowbag if it's the last thing I do. Trust me, and when I do, I will take immense pride in unveiling what a lying, cheating piece of dirt she really is. I could do with getting something into her handbag, really. That would give me a good idea. Does anyone know of a pen that acts like a VAR or something similar she wouldn't think twice about if it appears in her bag? If I put a pen in there in the inside pocket, then I am sure she would be like, oh, that's weird, didn't think I had a pen, and not think anything of it. Whereas if it's a USB, for example, then she might be like, weird, how did that get there? Let me take a look at this. Update. Just over 3 months has passed and it's been one of the worst times of my life. The stress of this made me so ill that I started to have huge anxiety problems, panic attacks, and just generally have been an absolute wreck. I didn't go through with checking up on her. Instead, I foolishly thought I could fix things by doing my best as per usual. I have done everything I possibly can. I almost made the mistake of buying another house with her, which hasn't been exchanged yet. However, our house is sold, so that gives me a get-out clause. I am in absolute bits here, but I cannot have a child and start a new life with someone who I don't feel loves me. She doesn't even care about my feelings at all. This evening I am going to tell her, even though I had said it time and time before, that I want a divorce for good, and then I will need to start taking care of things, and most importantly taking care of myself. I have been ill for a couple of years now and I am surprised the stress hasn't finished me off. I don't even know who this woman is anymore. I don't know if she's had an emotional affair. All I know is that I am deeply unhappy. I am more than 1000% willing to try and work on us as a couple, and she couldn't give a damn. It's sad it's had to come to this after 10 years, but you know what, I deserve to be happy. I need to get my self-respect back and look after myself. I am quite worried about myself, as earlier on I was so upset I really felt don't worry, I would never do anything, but the pain was so intense I just couldn't cope. How do I cope with going through this? I am hoping getting this woman out of my life will be like taking the big dagger that's swinging over my head away from me. My comment: you can't treat your partner nice and expect them to leave their affair for you. It does not work. Treat yourself nice, and maybe someone else would appreciate you. Story 2. The Tracing Signs. This is my first real post here, but I have been dealing with this for some time now. My wife and I are in our early 30s and have been married for 6 years and together for 8. We have 6-year-old twin girls. In June of last year, I found some alarming things on our computer. Dug a little bit and it seemed like my wife was having an affair. I confronted her and she denied. Nothing happened for a couple weeks. I got a series of text messages from an unknown number telling me that my wife was having an affair with someone's husband. I confronted again and wife confessed. The final version of events is that she had a 4-month affair with the married other man. Around 15 encounters. Frequent emails and messages. My immediate inclination was to just file for divorce. I had been 100% faithful to my wife and passed up several opportunities to mess around. My wife ended up becoming extremely remorseful, and by August I backed off the idea of a divorce. The idea of paying my wife spousal and child support to fool around is fairly unappealing. I grilled her for almost 3 months and she insists that the affair was a one-time thing and that she is sorry. I am trying to forgive her, but it's hard. I have not been faithful to her since and I haven't even felt an ounce of guilt. In September I slept with a co-worker on a work trip. We have been together a few more times since then. I also had a one-night thing with an ex-girlfriend when I went home to visit family in November. I know I should feel guilty and on paper I am as bad as my wife. But I don't, and I still feel anger towards her. She doesn't know about any of this. I do think a divorce would be hard because of costs, and it would be tough on our girls. My wife and I get along well enough and the marriage are okay. We have a decent amount of bonding. Don't really fight, unless it's about the affair, have a nice home. Prior to her affair we were talking about another baby, but I am not sure where we sit now. I would like a son, but I don't want to be further tied down in case things don't work out. I'm just looking for some advice. Is it wrong to just stick in the marriage because it is convenient? Regarding tests, wife had an STD panel in August of last year. Was clean. Also, this is going to make me seem paranoid, but I had paternity tests done on the twins. They are mine. I used a protection during the one-night thing. I will look into an STD test for myself, but I don't think anything was transmitted. My wife doesn't work, so the support I would end up paying is fairly substantial. I don't think there is anything wrong with taking that into context. I'm not crazy about the idea of being away from my kids, and that wouldn't be healthy for them. That is my main reason for not wanting a divorce, more so than any financial elements. I'm not sure if confessing is the best thing to do or if I am ready to. I hold a lot of resentment that she BS'd me for almost a month. I honestly don't think she is owed the truth at this point. It would absolutely change the dynamic of our marriage if I was to confess to what I did. Like I said earlier, I am not feeling overly guilty about what happened. As far as I am concerned, we are even. And I didn't mention this is the initial post, but there have been a couple other incidents that could be considered cheating but were not bonding. So, it would be quite a bit to confess to. My position right now is if she confronts me, I won't lie to her, but I am not volunteering anything. I think part of my hesitation to tell her about the affairs is I'm not sure how it's going to come across. I was fairly harsh when I found out her affair and I was a little mean-spirited about it. I think people can understand cheating and revenge, but the hypocrisy is going to be appalling. From a practical point of view, I am not going to get much out of leaving. I would be away from my daughters for substantial amounts of time. I would likely end up moving out. I would be paying support. I wouldn't be with my wife, who despite everything we have been through I generally get along with and like. The only benefit is I suppose I could find someone else who would presumably be a better wife. But even that isn't a sure thing. And we, wife and I, fixed a lot of the physical issues we were having pre-affair. If you add in the improvement in the marriage intimacy and the still ongoing situation with the co-worker, I am more than satisfied physically. I do feel myself morphing into a scumbag, and that is disappointing. A year ago, I would never even have thought of touching another woman. My wife does not need to know about the truth. No, she doesn't. There is an incredible amount of deceit from her about her affair. Believe me, she does not deserve the truth. I really wouldn't call my situation with my co-worker an affair. We have had slept together 6 times and done physical things maybe 4 to 5 more times. It's not a situation where we are in contact every day or are sleeping with one another regularly. We have had slept together almost exclusively on business trips. It's essentially just bonding once a month. I didn't wrong an innocent party. I am not saying things snowballed. I know what I did, and I decided to do exactly what I have done. I am owning my crap. I wallowed in the misery for 3 months before doing anything. I do feel like I am in a better place now. Divorce would not be best. I've listed why I don't think it's best. I guess I'll repeat it: money and time away from kids. I'm not ever going to tell my wife about the affairs. I don't see the point at all. All it would do is cause problems. And at the end of the day, it wouldn't change a thing. I would still resent her, and it's not like she would file for divorce because of it. I think what I am doing now is just sitting in the middle and having a moderately satisfactory marriage that has serious issues and messing around on the side. It's fine short term, but it isn't really a great situation long term. My co-worker is in a remarkably similar position as I am, and our setup is mutually beneficial and discreet. I just wanted to make clear I am not taking advantage of her or misleading her. Karma. I guess we'll cross that road if we have to. My co-worker says she is clean, and I do believe her. We don't use condoms. She has an IUD. I used a protection for the casual thing in November. I am not messing with women who are HIV positive. If an STD situation arises, odds are it would be a minor STD and a treatable STD. No, we don't have an open marriage. It would bother me if she was having another affair. It might sound hypocritical, and it probably is, but the idea of sharing my wife is fairly repulsive to me. That is why I had such a hard time dealing with the affair. It would break me if I knew she was having an affair after proclaiming it would never ever happen again. And I have access to her passwords and phone. There are 0 signs of an affair now. I have started to broach the subject of her working again, but we are still up in the air about the whole baby thing. I do want a son, and financially we are at a good point now. Obviously, maritally we are not. We both are in our early 30s, so ideally, we would want to have him in the next couple years. This is more so what I was looking for guidance on. Would it be incredibly dumb to have another child in our situation? The argument my wife has made is that a baby would let us refocus on what is important, and it would bring us closer. When our twins were babies, we were probably the closest we ever were, so I think there might be some merit to her point. I never said I was looking for advice on how to stop the affairs, or how to repair our marriage. I think in time I will be ready for that, but I'm not now. I need the affair. In a twisted way, it's helped me recover from things. I have let go of a little bit of anger, not all, towards my wife. I am emotionally distant. Part of it is I am hesitant to go all in a fluid situation. Things are better now, but you never know, right? And I have always been a little detached, so it's not out of character. Is it really that wrong if we both want the baby? I'm not forcing her or even pressuring her for the baby. It's a little hard for me to accept the evil label. It's dishonest, no doubt, but I don't think it is evil. I am not going to leave my wife for my co-worker. I don't love my co-worker. It's not really even emotional at all. OM's wife confirmed the affair for me, so it's a non-issue. I had suspicions in my wife. I let it go. I got a message from OM's wife saying that he was sleeping with my wife. I confronted my wife again, and she confessed. Let's not get into whose affair was worse. Believe me when I say any objective observer would consider hers worse. It was longer, more emotional, and happened first. Fine. It is an affair. I suppose technically the one-night thing counts as an affair too. It's just making things equal. My comment: first, don't stay in a relationship out of convenience, because of financial gain or for the good of the children. That will only result in resentment and doubt on all parties involved. Plus, from what you say, it seems as though you emotionally disconnected and have no interest in reconnecting. I would venture to say that you don't care about your wife. You may believe that you do, but it's a front. You have to look at yourself and be brutally honest with yourself. Whatever you decide to do, do because it's for you as a person and not for others or for your pocketbook.